In the PMP exam and project management in general, as it aligns with the PMBOK guide, I commonly get asked, okay, well, how do deliverables flow? Or more commonly even, how does this relate to IT? Not that you have to be an IT expert for the exam, but what I did is I created this graphic here to help illustrate what's going on here, because there's a lot of chance for something to get misinterpreted as it relates to the overall exam, because a lot of terminology could be interpreted a variety of ways and what have you. Starting out, loosely speaking, at least per this graphic, we have the project management plan. So that's the overall plan, not just the schedule, but everything that we're expecting to do and how we're expecting to do it. So that's the project management plan. Then we get into executing, where we create deliverables. So we do work, we create outcomes or results, deliverables. Now, from there we get into control quality, which is a quality process. So the first two are from the integration knowledge area. Then control quality is a quality process. Now this is where we the team that build the thing, whatever it is in the project, we will test it ourselves to see if we think it's good. Now, ideally, every time you build a deliverable, you're going to do control quality, then you do validate scope, then you'd basically put it, so to speak, in the pile that's going to make the overall project outcome. So ideally, you're not building a bunch of stuff and then testing a bunch of stuff and then having the customer look at a bunch of stuff. Ideally, it's we build it, we test it, we show it to the customer. And then it's waiting to be all put together as a whole. Verified deliverables is what comes out of control quality when we test it. And then as a result, from there we go into the scope knowledge area with validate scope. So validate scope is where we have accepted deliverables. So this is where the customer tests it. So deliverable by deliverable by deliverable, we test it, it's good, get it to the customer. Next one, we test it, it's good, we get it to the customer. Fast and frequent as much as possible. So with validate scope, we have an accepted deliverable, thus the customer acknowledges that that particular piece is good as well. Now let's talk about both of these control quality and validate scope processes before we get to the final piece here. So control quality, if we were to compare it to the IT world, which is not a requirement for the test, but if you do work in IT, this better does help you connect the dots. So control quality is kind of like unit test or system test. So, we built a module or we built, a particular chunk of something. So we're either testing the unit or we're testing the system. And thus, once we believe it's good, however small or big the piece is, we go to validate scope. And that's similar to UAT or user acceptance testing, which is where the customer says, yes, I will take this. And so ideally you would do control quality before validate scope always, because if not, you could have a lot of waste. Now, once a deliverable and deliverable after deliverable makes it through validate scope, we could get into closed project or phase. This is where all those deliverables that the customer has accepted start to pile up, so to speak, and we all of a sudden start to say, hey, whatever we were trying to make, it's really starting to look, function, and feel like that. So now let's get the customer to approve the overall project outcome, which would either be a product, like look at this, a service, we now do this, a result, we're now X% more efficient, and thus the transition of it into operations. So again, we create deliverables, we believe they're good at that point, we test them with control quality. If they indeed pass the test as we understand it, then we get it to the customer to accept the deliverable. And then as those accepted deliverables pile up, whatever it is we're making should start to take shape for the final product, service, or result transition into operations. Now, again, remember, IT testing names that are bold in here, they're not required for the exam. This is not an IT exam, but if you do work in IT, that's a way you can connect the dots. Even if you don't, the process boxes we have in here are going to be very helpful in understanding how things flow.